The direction of cocaine supply plans is shifting to Europe. The continent is rising in the ranks of global cocaine consumption, becoming a hub for cartels, mostly with major countries like Belgium and the Netherlands. Customs officials and police have seized 68 tons of cocaine at Dutch ports and airports so far this year, well above last year's nearly 50 tons, but this is only what the police and airports have found because there is way more. Want to know how much more and who's behind this? Prepare yourself to enter the world of criminal masterminds who are turning the Netherlands into a narco state. Let's get started. Drug trafficking in the Netherlands is a complex issue, with the country serving as a hub for both drug production and distribution. The country's strategic location in Europe, its liberal drug policies, as well as its well-developed infrastructure have made it an attractive location for drug trafficking organizations from around the world. The types of drugs involved in trafficking in the Netherlands are diverse, with cannabis, cocaine, and amphetamines being the most prevalent. The production of synthetic drugs, such as ecstasy and MDMA, is also a significant issue, with the Netherlands being one of the largest producers of these drugs in Europe. The extent of drug trafficking in the Netherlands is difficult to estimate, as much of it takes place underground and outside of official channels. However, law enforcement agencies in the Netherlands have made significant efforts to combat drug trafficking, and with a particular focus on intercepting drugs at the country's borders and cracking down on drug-related crimes. Despite these efforts, drug trafficking remains a significant problem in the Netherlands, with criminal organizations using sophisticated methods to evade detection and continue their operations. The impact of drug trafficking on Dutch society is complex, with the drug trade contributing to both crime and addiction in the country. In the next section, we will explore the role of the Dutch government in preventing drug trafficking and how effective their efforts have been. The Dutch government has implemented various policies to prevent drug trafficking in the country, including strict regulations on the production and distribution of drugs. The government has also established partnerships with international organizations and law enforcement agencies to combat drug trafficking on a global level. Despite these efforts, the effectiveness of the Dutch government's policies in preventing drug trafficking is a topic of debate. While the government has taken steps to prevent the production and distribution of drugs, the liberal drug policies in the country have also been criticized for enabling drug trafficking. The government's approach to drug policy in the Netherlands is based on the principle of harm reduction, which focuses on reducing the negative consequences of drug use rather than criminalizing drug use itself. While this approach has been effective in reducing drug-related harm in some respects, critics argue that it has also contributed to the growth of the drug trade in the country. In recent years, the Dutch government has increased its efforts to combat drug trafficking, with a particular focus on cracking down on organized crime syndicates involved in the drug trade. The government has also allocated significant resources to law enforcement agencies to prevent the trafficking of drugs into and out of the country. The Dutch police play a crucial role in the fight against drug trafficking in the country. Law enforcement agencies in the Netherlands work together to prevent production, transportation, and distribution of illegal drugs, with a particular focus on intercepting drugs at the country's borders. The police use a variety of tactics to combat drug trafficking, including intelligence gathering, surveillance, and targeted raids on drug production and distribution networks. The police have also established partnerships with the international law enforcement agencies to share information and coordinate efforts to combat drug trafficking on a global level. Despite these efforts, the Dutch police face significant challenges in combating drug trafficking, including the increasing sophistication of drug trafficking organizations and the use of new technologies to evade detection. Additionally, the liberal drug policies in the Netherlands have made it more difficult for law enforcement agencies to crack down on drug production and distribution. However, the Dutch police have had some success in combating drug trafficking in the country. In recent years, the police have seized significant quantities of drugs and arrested individuals involved in drug production and distribution networks. The police have also made efforts to disrupt the financial networks of drug trafficking organizations, making it more difficult for them to operate. The Netherlands is known for its role in the production of various drugs, including synthetic drugs such as ecstasy and MDMA. The country's well-developed chemical industry and access to precursor chemicals has made it a significant producer of synthetic drugs, with many of these drugs being exported to other countries. The production of drugs in the Netherlands have had a significant impact on the country, both economically and socially. The drug trade has contributed to organized crime and violence in the country, with criminal organizations using drug production and the distribution as a means of financing their activities. In addition to the impacts on crime and violence, drug production has also had environmental and health consequences in the Netherlands. The production of synthetic drugs requires large amounts of chemicals and energy, leading to significant environmental pollution. Additionally, the production and use of drugs have contributed to addiction and substance abuse problems in the country. The Dutch government has taken steps to address the impacts of drug production on the country, including increasing regulation of precursor chemicals and cracking down on illegal drug production and distribution networks. However, the problem of drug production in the Netherlands remains a significant issue, and the government continues to work to address this issue. organized crime and drug trafficking are deeply interconnected in the Netherlands. Criminal organizations use drug production and distribution as a means of financing their activities, with profits from the drug trade being used to fund other criminal activities such as money laundering, human trafficking, and weapon smuggling. The involvement of organized crime in drug trafficking has had significant impacts on the Netherlands. The country has seen an increase in violent crime and gang activity, with rival criminal organizations engaging in turf wars and violent clashes. The drug trade has also contributed to corruption in law enforcement agencies and other sectors of society. In recent years, the Dutch government has increased its efforts to crack down on organized crime and drug trafficking. Law enforcement agencies have made significant arrests and seizures of drugs and assets connected to organized crime, and the government has implemented new laws and policies aimed at disrupting criminal networks and confiscating their assets. Despite these efforts, the problem of organized crime and its drug trafficking in the Netherlands remains a significant challenge. Criminal organizations continue to adapt to law enforcement efforts, using new technology and tactics to evade detection and continue their activities. The government continues to work towards finding new solutions to this complex problem. Drug trafficking has significant social and economic impacts on the Netherlands and its citizens. The drug trade has contributed to organized crime, corruption, and violence in the country, with criminal organizations using drug production and distribution as a means of financing their activities. This has led to an increase in violent crime and gang activity, and a sense of insecurity in some communities. The drug trade has also had significant economic impacts on the Netherlands. While drug trade generates significant profits, these profits come at a high cost. The production and distribution of drugs contribute to environmental pollution and can harm public health, leading to increased healthcare costs and lost productivity. The drug trade also has a negative impact on legitimate businesses in the Netherlands. Criminal organizations use legal businesses to launder their profits, creating an uneven playing field for legitimate businesses and distorting the economy. This has led to calls for increased regulation of certain industries and greater transparency in financial transactions. The future of drug trafficking in the Netherlands is difficult to predict, as criminal organizations are constantly adapting to new law enforcement efforts and changing economic conditions. However, there are several steps that could be taken to prevent and combat drug trafficking in the Netherlands. One approach could be to increase international cooperation in addressing drug trafficking. The Netherlands could work more closely with other countries to disrupt drug trafficking networks and track the flow of drugs across borders. Additionally, the Netherlands could continue to increase regulation of precursor chemicals and other materials to use in drug production to limit the availability of these substances to criminal organizations. Another approach could be to increase investment in prevention and treatment programs for addiction and substance abuse. By addressing the root causes of drug abuse, the Netherlands could reduce demand for drugs and limit the profits available to criminal organizations. Finally, the Netherlands could work to increase transparency and accountability in financial transactions and business operations, to reduce the ability of criminal organizations to launder their profits and distort the economy. This could include increased regulation and oversight of certain industries, as well as a greater transparency in financial transactions and ownership structures. The Netherlands drug trade is not isolated from the global drug market. In fact, the country is often seen as a transit point and hub for drug trafficking into other European countries. Other countries, particularly those in South America, Asia, and Africa, are major producers and exporters of illicit drugs that find their way into the Netherlands. The involvement of other countries in the Netherlands drug trade has significant impacts on the country. For example, the drug trade contributes to organized crime, corruption, and violence in the Netherlands, which can be traced back to the production and distribution of drugs in other countries. Additionally, the Netherlands' reputation as a transit point for drug trafficking can attract criminal organizations and drug smugglers from around the world, leading to an increase in criminal activity and related social problems. To address the role of other countries in the Netherlands drug trade, international cooperation is needed. The Netherlands could work with other countries to address the root causes of drug production and trafficking, and to disrupt the flow of drugs across borders. Additionally, the Netherlands could work together with other countries to promote alternative economic opportunities for those involved in the drug trade, such as through sustainable agriculture or other industries. In conclusion, the Netherlands drug trade is a complex issue with far-reaching social, economic, and political impacts. The country has long been a major player in the global drug market, with a reputation as a hub for drug trafficking into other European countries. However, the Netherlands has also taken steps to address drug trafficking and its associated impacts, including through law enforcement efforts, prevention and treatment programs, and increased regulation. Whether the Netherlands is becoming a narco state is a matter of debate. While the country's drug trade is certainly a significant issue, there are concerns about the role of organized crime and corruption. The Netherlands has also demonstrated a commitment to addressing these issues and taking proactive steps to prevent the combat of drug trafficking. Ultimately, the future of drug trafficking in the Netherlands will depend on a range of factors, including the actions of other countries, the effectiveness of law enforcement and prevention efforts, and broader global trends in drug policy. Thank you for watching this video on whether the Netherlands is becoming a narco state. We hope this has been informative and given you a better understanding of the complex issues surrounding drug trafficking in the Netherlands.